This is the Berman Method podcast featuring Dr. Jake Berman and physician assistant Jenni Berman. We are here to treat problems and not symptoms. Disclaimer, this podcast is for entertainment purposes only and not to treat anyone or to give medical advice. If you are interested in any information that we are giving and would like to use this for yourself, we recommend that you contact your primary care physician or reach out to us and ask us questions about yourself specifically. Enjoy!
And we're rolling, baby. Rolling. The Berman Method podcast, where we're focused on treating problems and not symptoms. Dr. Jake Berman here with my lovely co-host and baby mama.
Jenni Berman, physician assistant.
And baby mama to be again.
Yeah, that's right.
What's happening?
Number 2 in the oven.
Bun in the oven.
Bun in the oven.
The bump is bumping.
Yes.
It is loud and proud now. No more hiding it.
Yes. We've had lots of comments on it being loud and proud.
Pushing me out of the way with it.
Oh, stop.
When we're walking by, get out of the way.
That's not true. That's rude. Don't ever say that to a pregnant lady.
I hope the audio sounds okay. We're in a different recording location today. We're in my office downstairs in the back room. Didn't have our on-call babysitter.
This morning, yes.
Yeah. Nehemiah, my mother.
Yes.
Her name used to be Nana, but now it's Nehemiah.
Really just Nia, but
just Nia.
Nehemiah if you want. When she first couldn't say or decide, when Stella first decided it wasn't going to be Nana, she switched back and forth between Nia and Mia, but then Nia pretty much stuck. So now we're just Nia, and my mom is Mimi. So
yeah,
at first she was combining them.
Yeah,
and now she just stuck with Nia.
Yeah. So my mom is out of town, so we didn't have our on-call babysitter to walk Stella over while we could record this in our recording studio at home. Uh-huh. So we're recording in the office.
Yeah, hopefully it sounds good.
Yeah, this is a fun little change-up.
It is. So we're finally back in town.
Holy cow. This has been crazy. Fall is by far the busiest time of year for us. Did we do the math or did we count up how many weekends?
8.
In a row?
We just finished our 8th weekend.
In a row.
Of
not being home.
Of being gone. And nobody would ever know because business is still running, podcast is still running.
We're making time to get things done. We got a great team back in the office. While we are out of the office, we're able to do a lot of things virtually. However, really, it's come down to our team that we've developed and grown over the past year, essentially.
Right. Yes. They've been very, very helpful through all this because it's been wild.
Yes.
We've been gone for various reasons, family things, a football game on the weekends, which doesn't require us to be out of the office at all, a hunting trip, more family things. So it's just kind of...
good things, good family things.
Been in and out. Yeah, in and out. Some trips where we were gone during the week and we worked virtually. Some trips where we were only gone Saturday, Sunday. So it didn't really affect the work week at all. But regardless, being gone 8 weekends in a row is exhausting.
With our kid.
With Stella.
And sometimes with some or all of the dogs.
Yes, and the dogs. We have 3 dogs at home. So sometimes on the trips, either 1 win or 2 win or 3 win. So, and Stella went on every single trip with us except for 1 weekend. We were...
and 1 football weekend.
1 football game. We went away and she stayed here with Nia.
With Nia.
But then, and we had a business meeting.
Yep.
In October, which we've already talked about on a podcast. So, and my mom came and helped us with that weekend while we were at our business meeting.
Mimi came.
Mimi, yep. But Stella was there and Mimi helped us with Stella while we were in class during the day.
Stella was actually the life of the party at that business meeting. Every quarterly meeting that we have, they always throw a party one of the nights, and this party was the 80s, 90s themed party. And Stella was out on the dance floor almost the entire time. She was the life of the party.
She was. And they had like who was it?
Prince.
Prince cameo. And he was dancing with Stella and singing with her, and she was just dancing away. So
Loving it.
So what we kind of wanted to talk about today is how we have stayed on track through traveling for 8 weekends in a row. Not only with being disciplined and motivated with work and working virtually and being able to keep things going business-wise, but also with our health. You know, we've been driving in the car for hours and hours and hours over the last 8 weeks. So how have we kept our backs and our necks healthy through that process, sleeping in, I don't know how many different beds have we slept in the past 8 weeks. I mean, a lot of different beds, keeping our necks healthy through that, talking about some of the metabolic things we did to help with keeping our metabolism up in gear, knowing that we didn't have our home cooked meals every single day like we normally do while we traveled, what kind of snacks we did. So I think that's a good thing to talk about, is how did we maintain our overall health over being gone and extremely busy over the last 8 weeks?
Yeah, so 2 things. One thing is, I think we should actually go and do the math and see how many hours did we spend in a car over the past 2 months.
Okay.
How many different beds did we sleep on?
Oh gosh.
Sleep
I don't know
in.
if we can count that.
Yeah. But I think that would just be a fun thing to do. But second of all, I think it's really important to talk about this stuff because it is always the number one excuse for people falling off the bandwagon, whether it be physically or nutritionally.
Right.
I'm traveling. I'm going to the islands for a week. I'm going skiing for a week. I'm going to visit the grandkids, or my grandkids came in town. My family came in town. Thanksgiving happened. Christmas happened. Whatever it is, it's always an excuse. And one thing that we did was we stayed pretty disciplined. You stayed very disciplined. Like, you seriously kicked my ass, which you always do, regarding the exercise component of it. However, nutritionally, I did decently. I didn't completely fall off the bandwagon.
Right.
And there's just some really simple tips and tricks that made it so much easier to do it that way. Right?
Yeah. Both. So let's start off with the physical aspect. What kind of things that we did to help with. I was just calculating the amount of hours that we were in the car, and we averaged, I got one more weekend to add up. So it was about 104 hours in the car.
Over 2 months.
Over the last 8 weeks. Yeah. Which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you break it down per weekend.
Well, the thing is...
So that's averaging 13 hours a weekend.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like a lot when if you relate it to somebody that works behind a steering wheel and you're constantly driving for your day job. That's really not a whole lot. The difference is these are road trips, not daily working. Because when you're working behind the windshield, behind a steering wheel, generally you're not driving for more than an hour. Then you get out and you go to the next job.
Right.
20 minutes to 60 minutes is your general commute. And then you get out and move, versus what we were doing is actual road trips. So we're talking 4 to 6 to 24-hour road trips.
Right. Where we sat in the car. And if you don't get up and move, it's very challenging to avoid back pain or neck pain or leg pain or hip pain after sitting in a car for 24 hours straight driving across the country, or even just 6 hours straight driving. You get out and you're stiff, or the next day you have back pain because you just sat. So let's talk about just a few of the things that we did to help with avoiding back pain and neck pain through the extensive travel that we did.
So some very simple things that you can do is put the back of your seat as straight up as possible. So it's very awkward at first. My comfort position is I recline the back of my seat when I'm driving. I recline it back.
He lays down.
Jenny thinks that I'm laying down. But when you're on these long road trips, getting it as upright as possible, because the farther back your seat is reclined, the farther forward your chin will reach. So it puts your neck in a really crappy posture or position the farther back your chair reclines, because it reaches forward, because you're not going to be staring at the ceiling of the roof of your car. You're going to still be looking out of the windshield, hopefully. So getting that backrest up nice and straight, doesn't have to be completely straight. You're completely straight. Every time I get in the seat after you're driving, I'm going, oh my gosh, what are we in? What is that school called?
Military school.
Military school. Or no, I'm thinking of like a women's school, or where you go to learn manners.
Oh, like nun school?
Yeah, something like that, where walk with a book on your head.
Uh-huh.
And I'm going, oh my gosh, this is horrible. I got to recline it back at least one notch. So anyways, that's the first thing that you should do. The second thing is the lumbar support. A lot of people think that you need to max out that lumbar support. I don't necessarily believe in that. And the reason why is because the more lumbar support you have in your car seat, the more hip flexion you are going to end up with. So it kind of plays into a downward spiral, meaning that, yeah, it's supporting your low back while you're sitting, but it's tightening the crap out of your hip flexors. So then when you go to get out of the car and you don't have that lumbar support anymore and your hip flexors are super tight, then it's going to really put a lot of stress on your low back. So it ends up being a double-edged sword when you really max out that lumbar support. So I like a nice neutral lumbar support. Actually, my truck has 0 lumbar support because I've got the basic work truck. There's no bells and whistles in my truck versus your Tahoe. It's got all sorts of movements in the seats. So in my truck, there's no lumbar support, which I think is good for me because when I get out of the truck, what's the first thing that I do?
Check your pelvis.
I check my pelvis, fix it real quick.
Yeah.
And then squeeze my butt.
Right.
So I stand up as tall as I can, belly button in, chest way tall, and then straighten my knees and squeeze my glutes as hard as I possibly can, because you just got done not activating your glutes for however long you were sitting there. Your glutes are not activated when you're sitting on them.
Right.
So wake them up.
Right. So getting out of the car as often as you can when you stop, but first thing you do is squeeze your glutes, maybe spend the 5 minutes that you're stopping, getting gas, pumping gas, doing some pelvic tucks, glute squeezes. Something else that we do a lot when we travel is the pelvic correction. So checking our pelvis, which maybe we could put the video on the show notes of how we do that. We've talked about it before on this podcast, but what that does is make sure that the pelvis is in proper alignment so that when you do activate your glute muscles, you're actually getting equal activation on both sides of the glutes. If the pelvis is rotated after sitting for 6, 7, 8 hours in the car, then when you go to activate your glutes, only one's going to activate, not the other. So that's something we did a lot throughout this trip. And then, as you mentioned, the exercise, keeping up with that. When we traveled to Kansas, we didn't have a gym. We didn't have any equipment, but we brought bands with us, and we were able to go on walks with the dog, and then came back and did some band exercises. So it doesn't have to be anything super intense. You don't have to go to a fitness center while you're traveling, but keeping moving, keeping muscles activating, doing some physical therapy, rehab exercises is even going to be beneficial when you're traveling.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, I was hunting with one of my buddies up in South Carolina, and I luckily tagged out a day early. So the next morning, I didn't have to wake up at 4:30 in the morning to go sit in the tree stand. So when I ultimately did get up at daybreak, I'm like, okay, I'm sitting there twiddling my thumbs because everybody at camp was in a tree stand. Nobody was at camp. So it was like a ghost town. So I'm like, what the hell am I going to do? Well, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to put my gym attire on real quick. I actually did pack an outfit, and I ran around the campsite, 5 minutes. It wasn't much, but it was in sand. So my calves actually were getting a really good workout. It was 40 degrees out, so it was freezing. But I ran around the campsite 5 minutes just to get the blood flowing. And then I did a bunch of physical therapy type exercises, which really got the blood pumping. And then I found a cinder block over in the bushes and an old broomstick. And that was something that I was using to do curls with, tricep workouts, some shoulder stuff, close grip push-ups on it, some back stuff. And I felt like I got a pretty decent workout in 30 minutes, maybe even 20 minutes. And the best part about it was it wasn't a really intense workout that would help me progress.
Right.
But what it did do was it stopped me from regressing. And that's one of the most important things that people should take away from this episode is when you're traveling, you don't have normalcy. Everything is different, or at least it's not your norm. The thing that you want to avoid at all costs is regression. If you can just maintain as close as you possibly can, or just minimize how much you lose, when you get that first day back in the gym, like the next day that I had in the gym, Monday following that hunting trip, I went as hard as I could. Versus if I hadn't done anything for a week, I wouldn't go as hard as I could that first day back, because then I wouldn't be able to move the second day.
Right. So being able to at least maintain some activation and movement, and that way you can continue progressing when you do get back into your normal routine. And just know that the routine while you're traveling is not going to be the same. We get up every morning and work out before we, that's the first thing we do in the morning. We drink our water, we go work out, come home, have breakfast, go on with our day. When we're traveling, it's not that way. Sometimes we're exercising at noon in between hunting sits, or sometimes we're exercising at 2 p.m. when Stella was able to finally go down for a nap. It just really depends.
Naps.
Yeah. It just really, we had to go with the flow and just utilize whatever 30-minute window we could to get in some type of movement, some type of muscle activation. It's not going to be intense, and that's okay. It's just something to keep the body moving and to keep the muscles firing so they don't get tight on us and start to hurt. Something else we did is we travel with our pillows always.
Yes.
So the PillowWise pillows that you have in your office at Berman Physical Therapy, where you're actually measured for the pillows, they are our savior. I mean, we travel everywhere with them. When we fly, they have their own check bag. They come on every single road trip with us. And that's been a huge help for my neck, especially since we've been started to use those pillows and traveled with them.
Yeah, you can't sleep on as many beds as we've slept on in the past 8 weeks and not have flare-ups unless you have your own pillow. You sleep on different pillows. You sleep on crappy pillows that are not custom measured and fitted for you. There's no chance you make it through those 8 weeks and not have some kind of flare-up.
Right. So I know we're going a while on this, so I just want to transition over to more of the nutrition component and the metabolic component and how we've maintained through that.
Yeah, I think it's important. And before we get into the actual food component, I think one of the biggest things that I take away from fall season every single year, because we do the same exact routine every single year, it's busy, is the importance of adequate water intake for the day. I mean, it just, when we have normalcy and we're here and we're not traveling, I'm getting a gallon in a day. If not a gallon, I'm getting as close to a gallon a day as I possibly can of water. And my regularity, so bowel movements is the biggest thing. I know it's been a couple of episodes since we've talked about poop, right?
Yeah. Let's bring it back.
Yeah, let's bring it back. So when we're here and I'm getting enough water, my regularity and the ease of going it's easy.
Right.
But when we're traveling, and it's hard to get a gallon of water in when you're driving, because then you're going to stop every 20 minutes to pee and you just can't do it.
Right.
So on our driving days, I might get in 60 ounces total for the day. And I pay for it the next morning when I'm trying to do my regular thing. It's like, what the hell is going on? The little rabbit turds coming out. And this is horrible.
Right.
So that's one of the biggest things that I take away with it is you need to be drinking a lot of water.
Yeah. And not just the bowel movement component. I mean, that's huge, but also the dehydration affecting the metabolism itself, slowing down the metabolism, but also our energy levels. I remember 2 trips ago, or the second to last trip that we took, our water intake was just
horrible.
Awful on that trip. And we suffered Monday and Tuesday that next week. It was hard for us to get back in the groove. Our energy level, mine especially, between...
You might remember a couple episodes ago where it might have sounded like Jenny was sleeping over there.
Stop.
Because she was.
I was not.
We ended that episode and go, oh my God, that was horrible.
But the energy, I mean, that when clients tell me that their energy is just so low all day, of course, there's several things that can go into our energy, but a majority of the time it's that their body is dehydrated. It is working on overdrive and not being paid with proper hydration. Majority of our water, over 75% of our body is water. And so we have to make sure we're replacing and hydrating. So when we are traveling, yes, it's a little bit more challenging, but you have to put the effort towards it and you have to be conscious about it, not only for the bowel movements, but for energy and metabolism.
Yeah. Don't forget, the easiest thing that you can do to increase your water intake is the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning is just pound 16 ounces of lukewarm water before you do anything. I mean, you can get up, go to the bathroom, but then go and drink that 16 ounces of water and just get it out of the way.
Right.
When you start your day that way, you're already 16 ounces ahead of 95% of the population.
Right. And 16 ounces first thing in the morning actually detoxifies our body. It removes toxins. It stimulates the metabolism and the brain. And plus, like Jake said, you're already 16 ounces down. So that is vital. Even when you're traveling, that's easy to do, is to be able to maintain that, alongside being able to maintain our nutrition.
Yeah, let's talk about the protein bars and the snacks that we bring, because that's the other excuse. Well, I was traveling, so I had to eat a gas station chicken biscuit.
Right.
Or I'm traveling and I had to go to McDonald's or whatever. Or Zaxby's. Ooh, use Zaxby's. That's mine.
Oh, Zaxby's.
I had, on one of these trips, I had Zaxby's twice.
Don't say that.
In a 3-day period. I came back and told Jenny that, and she almost whooped me.
It's because I wasn't on that trip was the problem, number one. And number two, I was like, you're not sleeping with me, because when he has an excess of inflammatory foods, since we don't normally eat that, gluten, dairy, more specifically, an egg for you, he snores.
Ugh.
And keeps me awake at night.
Allegedly snores.
So when I found out he had Zaxby's twice and pizza once, I was like, you are not sleeping with me. You are sleeping in a separate room.
I'm sleeping in the other room.
But something that we do when we travel, we always pack snacks with us. So whether it's a car trip or a flying trip, we take many snacks with us, a whole bag of snacks, including jerky sticks, bada bean, bada boom snacks, protein bars. We'll take dry roasted edamame. Yeah. So a lot of snacks that we can have that are not refrigerated, just in a bag in the car to take with us. And then whenever we get wherever we're going, where we at least have a mini fridge, we'll go and get some of our other vital snacks, where it'll be our plant-based yogurts or some deli meat slices that we can roll up. Also, when we travel, we always either take pre-made protein shakes or protein powder that we can just dump into water. So they make little individual sized packets of protein powder that we can take with us, so we can make sure we're maintaining our protein intake throughout these trips. Yes, our meals are not homemade like they are every night when we're at home. They may not be as lean as they are when we're at home, But the goal is that we're at least maintaining our macronutrients and being very mindful. If we know we're going to have a protein bar or two during the day because that's what's available to us, then when we go and we are deciding on our actual meals, we're a little bit more cognizant of, okay, we've had some carbohydrates through our protein bars, we've had some additives there. Let's try to stick with a leaner protein option for our meals, whether we go to Chick-fil-A and just get the grilled nuggets from Chick-fil-A, or whether we go to Chipotle and get a salad with the meat and the veggies, but not the beans and the rice, because that's something we can eat in the car. Jersey Mike's, where we get our sub in a tub, meaning that you get the sub in a bowl with the lettuce and no bread.
Yeah.
So we're very mindful when we do stop on the road. Fast food is not the only option. There are tons of food options on the car. Jimmy John's, where you can get the unwich and not get the bread there. So just be mindful of the meal choices when you have that opportunity, but always packing snacks and maintaining that protein every 2 to 3 hours while we're traveling is key.
And if you're still listening to this podcast, we're 60 episodes into this thing, and you pull into a daggum McDonald's, you are fired. Stop listening to this podcast. Stop watching any of our social medias or YouTubes. Quit. If you're going through the goddamn McDonald's drive-thru, quit it, because it's not food.
That's true.
It's not even real meat.
That's true.
The Impossible Burger is more real than the freaking McDonald's, and the Impossible Burger is not real. Speaking of this, we were just talking about this yesterday, or I think I was talking with my buddy Austin when we were up hunting, and it's so funny. I saw one of these things. I don't know if it was on Facebook or somewhere, but it said, the reason why I will not eat an Impossible Burger. And there was a picture. On the left was an Impossible Burger, and on the right was a beef burger. And there was a line down the middle. And then it said ingredients. The laundry list of ingredients in the Impossible Burger, it was insane. There was at least 20 ingredients in the Impossible Burger, and 90% of them I couldn't even pronounce. Right. And then you go over to the beef burger, ingredients. Beef. I'm like, that's the reason why I'm not eating that crap.
Right.
All this chemically engineered. You telling me that this is healthy? No.
Right.
20 years from now, it's going to be like smoking. Right? What caused all this cancer? Oh, it's all this fake food that you guys were eating, thinking it was healthy.
Yeah. It's hard. I mean, it is hard to get enough protein when you're vegan or vegetarian, but there's better choices, certainly. Yeah. When you're vegan or vegetarian.
Yeah. So I'm very serious about that. I am judging you right now. Stop driving through the McDonald's drive-thru. Quit it.
Agreed.
Stop listening to me.
There's a lot better options that you can go to. Even when you're in the middle of nowhere, there's better options as far as being able to get some.
At least Bojangles in the middle of nowhere. At least it's real chicken that's being fried versus the McDonald's chicken. I don't even know what it is. Like the chemical engineers don't even know what it is. They did that study trying to figure out what it was. It's not chicken. You put a chicken nugget in your back seat and forget about it and look at it, find it in a year. It looks the same.
That's true. That's true. That research showed the French fries sitting for a year on the counter, and the fries did not change. That was crazy. All right. So just keeping up with, maintaining. We always tell that with our clients when they're traveling. If you're maintaining, you're doing a good job. We just don't want to be regressing. But to be able to maintain, you still have to put effort towards it. You still have to be being conscious about what you're doing. You still have to move your body. You have to get your protein in every 2 to 3 hours. You got to drink your gallon of water.
Yeah, it's all about peaks and valleys. The more we can minimize the valleys, so that's the regression, the easier it is to get back to the peaks. That's your progression.
Right.
So maintain, do the best you can, stay the F away from McDonald's, and have a great rest of your day.
Happy Monday. All right. See ya. Thank you for subscribing on your social media and podcast platforms to the Berman Method. Dr. Jake Berman with Berman Physical Therapy and Jenni Berman, Physician Assistant with Berman Health and Wellness. You can find more information on our website, www.bermanpt.com for physical therapy, bermanpt.com/wellness for the health and wellness. You can also find us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and on your podcast platform. So be sure to follow us, like us, subscribe to us. And if you would like any further information, definitely visit our website and reach out to us. You may also find our free reports on the websites as well, where you can download this free information for yourself. Have a great day.